welcome to a Pond Update. This is a new feature I'm thinking about running weekly here to kind of talk about what the future of frog wrestling is, what the week was, what changes are going on, what storylines. In a nutshell, here's the deal. Running the stream, managing the transitions, setting up the matches, setting up the betting for the matches, talking to chat, entertaining chat, running commentary. It all gets to be a bit much for one person. I've had a lot of people reach out and say, would you ever do a co-host and stuff like that? And we'll see. We'll see how it grows. Step one of growth is something like this. It can be hard managing all that and making sure that I tell you all the storyline updates or push a new narrative or get behind the scenes on things or update even just the rules that we're having within the division, the show, whatever you call it. So I thought it might be fun to do just sort of a weekly one-off show where we talk about what happened last week, how that's going to be impacted going into next week, and just sort of any rule changes that might be going on. Two of those I did talk about on this last episode, but I'll go ahead and cover them here because that's what the purpose of this show is. Now, as this goes forward, I would love to have guests. I would love to have maybe clips where we can play, Scott bad-mouthing anyone, because that would be hilarious by itself. Bo talking about, losing an underwear match. Maybe that's all stuff we can do, but for now, I'm flipping the switch on this unprepared. This is going to be, it might get better. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, the stuff we talked about last week that I do want to cover here is the big changes for how frog wrestling is going to go going forward. So the first rule change we talked about a little bit was if a WWE wrestler holds a frog wrestling title, which is happening right now, Cody Rhodes is the Dragon Beef champion. If that happens, they are required to accept any challenge for the title on a week-to-week basis. That's assuming that a challenger does want to compete for the belt. They are obligated to say yes, unless they decide to go under contract with Frog Wrestling. We're going to get that title back. It's going to happen. Sometimes plans backfire, and we're dealing with it. But that's how it's going to go. So Cody Rhodes, you can look forward to probably weekly matches until that title disappears, and then Mr. Rhodes will likely disappear too, unless you watch him on TV. He's much more famous than anything we do. The other big change we did already talk about was how Money in the Bank is going to work. And this just boils down to the mechanics of the video game. Let's just break down the fourth wall here. Let's just talk about it. I have looked up many ways to try to get the AI to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase. And all of them require adjusting settings that ultimately make matches less interesting, more chaotic, and not as fun. And also with Frog Wrestling, I think part of the fun is me having no idea what's going to happen. And if I have to go in and change a match just to try and get the AI to cash in, well, now it's not really me not knowing what's going to happen. Now it's me trying to make things happen, which kind of goes against the entire point of this whole thing. So I don't really like that idea. So we're just going to change what the Money in the Bank contract is. Instead of you can literally cash it in anytime, which, the way they do that on TV is a match happens and then they run in at the last possible second. The person's already hurt. They've been through a big match. They cash it in. They do one move maybe. They pin them. They automatically get the title. Like it's basically it's not always, but it's almost a guaranteed title change is the way it works. This isn't going to work that way anymore. It's just going to guarantee you a match, and it's going to be a fair match, and you can make whatever stipulations you want, or you can join an existing match, turning it into a triple threat or a fatal four-way or whatever it may be. So it gives the owner some power to control what the match will be, and I kind of see this being a way for maybe lower card wrestlers to get a chance at higher card titles. For example, Jocelyn hasn't had the best win-loss rate. Wonderful character, wonderful wrestler. It's all good. No ill will towards Jocelyn. Congratulations on the baby for the real Jocelyn, not the wrestler Jocelyn. But She's clearly not in the dialogue right now for number one contender for the title. But by having that briefcase, she can make that match at any point. And if she wins, which there's always a chance, let me tell you, as somebody who runs test matches, I've seen Scott lose a lot. I've seen crazy things. We saw Kristen lose last week. It does happen even to the best of them. I think it gives a chance to really shake things up. And I do think title changes are fun. I think it's fun when somebody holds them for a good long time, like Scott. I also think it's really fun when they keep shifting around. So I'm looking forward to that. That's the stuff you know. Here's the stuff you may not know. First, going off of Money in the Bank, I am going to probably, at some point here, probably not this week, but I'm considering doing a Money in the Bank briefcase for the Frog Pants Championship itself. With these rule changes and all of that, there's really no reason for this to not exist. And honestly, I like the Dragon Beef case pun so much that I kind of like keeping that exclusive to the Dragon Beef Championship title and not just doing one case and you can cash it in for whatever you want, which was also something I was considering. So I do think I will be adding that at some point. Another big rule change that we're going to be doing, once again, let's break the fourth wall down. Tag team wrestling absolutely sucks. I don't like calling it. I see the comments in the chat. This match is never going to end. I'm sure there are people out there that have fun when it happens, when we do those matches. But realistically, we have to look at it. They're not fun to watch. They're not fun to commentate. They kill the momentum of the show. And it's made me not want to do tag team wrestling. So that is a mechanic of the game. Unfortunately, the way the game is designed is that when someone goes for a tag or submission, both AI wrestlers go in. The wrestler that's protecting the pin from happening, or protecting the pin to make sure it happens, is always slower than the one trying to break it up. The breakup always happens, and on it goes until either the AI gets really dumb and doesn't try to break it up, which can be a story beat, or the AI is smart and they beat up, the helper and then go for the pin, which takes a long time to get to. So until 2K get fixed their tag team AI matches, I'm changing it. I don't want to get rid of tag team wrestling. It's a great way to get multiple people together. It's a great way to display teams, which is a big part of what we have going. So just from now on, all tag team matches in Frog Wrestling are going to be tornado tag matches, which are chaotic. And because I like them better, they will probably almost always be elimination style, where once someone gets pinned, then it becomes a 2-on-1. I think those types of matches are actually really, really fun. But we'll see on that. At the very least, it will always be a tornado tag match, which prevents the full, constant back and forth, oh, they tried to pin, it got interrupted. Oh, they tried to pin, it got interrupted. I think this will be better for it overall. It'll kind of turn tag team wrestling into something I hate and kind of avoid into something that I would look forward to every week, and I hope you all feel the same. If you don't, get in the comments, but I think anybody that's watching week to week, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It goes from reasonable to unreasonable, and unfortunately, there's not a setting that I can flip to change that. It's just the way the game is programmed. If this starts working well, and we're enjoying it, I also want to consider doing a women's tag division, which would include a title. I haven't done that because, one, the women's roster's been slowly growing. We're getting there. It's about where it needs to be now. But in addition to that, it just hasn't been fun to do tag matches. And why encourage more tag team wrestling if you're not having fun with it? So if that all changes, we'll proceed with that. So that will be fun too. I also think that Money in the Bank briefcases could be exchanged for shots at the tag titles. Dragon Beef case will always be for the Dragon Beef title, but maybe the championship one, when we add it, and the women's one could be used for tag titles as well. So that could be cool. That's it for those updates. Let's get into this week because we do have some in-story updates for this week. One of the big moments last week, we had our big battle royale to see who was going to be the new Dragon Beefcase holder. And in that match, we assumed that maybe Mod Syndicate would work together. We had Tanner, we had Ben, both in there, both vying for a spot. And we thought maybe they would make a team up, at least until the very end, at least until they had to fight each other. And instead, what we saw was Ben throw Tanner out and maybe sowing a little division amongst the Mod Syndicate. Tanner refused to comment on the situation, but Tom Merritt did provide an update, and he said that he is dedicated to seeing Mod Syndicate grow into the dominant force in frog wrestling. He thinks that competition amongst teammates is always good, and that Tanner will bounce back and recover from this and see that it ultimately is to the benefit of the Syndicate. Pretty basic answer. We'll have to wait until we can hear what's going on with Tanner. Remains to be seen if they are going to be working together or not. But that does tie into our other bit of news, which is eerily similar, let me tell you. We also had a match between John Jagger and Brian Dunaway. John calling out Brian Dunaway after he refused to save John from being pinned in their big tag team championship match. Cost them their shot at the titles. John was upset about it, called out Dunaway. They fought. Dunaway ultimately won that fight. And so there's been a question. Is John out of CORE? Is he leaving the team? Is Brian Dunaway done with CORE? How does Scott feel about his teammates fighting? Scott came off of a big win last week against Bo, retained his title. Scott's also got to be happy. The women's title is finally under the CORE banner with Martha. But of course, Martha, if John's leaving CORE, is Martha going with him? So there's been a lot of questions as to what's going to happen. What's the future of CORE? And Scott Johnson clarified it himself. He said that CORE is about being the best. John took a shot at trying to establish his position within CORE, and he failed. He now knows what the pecking order is. Scott believes that CORE, it needs to refocus. They need to get revenge on the people that have been taking them down, that being the Mod Syndicate. And he has already announced that this week there is going to be a match where John and Brian bury the hatchet, tag team against the Mod Syndicate to prove once and for all that CORE is the dominant team in frog wrestling. Will they be able to work together? Will they be able to defeat Mod Syndicate? We are going to have to find that out this week. That's going to be one of the major matches, one to look forward to. We got lots of great matches coming up. Always look for the announcement tweet on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. It's fine. And we'll list the full card before we go live. Always remember, if you want to join us live, twitch.tv/craftlessrogue, Wednesday night, Wrestling Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time is when it all goes down. Make sure you're there, and I'll catch you next time for a Pond update. Till then, thanks everybody for joining me on this first one. Like I said, it's just me talking to a camera right now. That's probably what it's going to be more often than not. But I do hope that maybe as we get this going, we can put a little more action behind there, bring in other people, bring in interviews, all sorts of fun stuff. Thanks for tuning in for the first one. I'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody.